Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad that you are here with us today. It is an absolute treat that you're joining me on a lovely Saturday. And on this Saturday, we're going to be talking about K through 12 global collaboration projects and the different types of projects that you can afford your students and your actual teacher friends that you may be working with in your school district. So I'm going to showcase my slide deck today with you, and I'm going to bring it in through a PowerPoint slide deck. And within the slide deck, I also have the actual links that are embedded in today. Those of you that have just joined us, I want to make sure that you do have a copy of that particular PowerPoint. And so I have that loaded in the back channel chat. You are more than willing of any attendee today to please reshare that with other attendees that join us after the fact. Yet please feel free to share and distribute throughout your school districts or organizations that you support. So once again, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm so excited because this topic in particular, again, is one of my favorites. I love to travel, and I have really had the wonderful opportunity to work with many schools worldwide. And it has afforded me the opportunity to become more diverse in the way that I teach, more compassionate and understanding of the different types of cultures that I've worked with from almost every single continent. It has helped me be such a better teacher, but it really has filled my heart and the way that I teach with very much compassion. And I always put on my forefront of everything that I create and make is that it must be addressing empathy to understand and to listen to understand to ensure that we're offering the best type of teaching and learning experience for everyone involved. So as you know me, I'm Naomi Harm. My hair is up today. Some of you'll say, hey, where's that long hair? Yes, I have long hair too. I wear it a different way every single day because I just like to be different. I'm a women in leadership strategist. I'm a STEM innovation specialist. And yes, I am an ISTE instructional coach. So some of the things that I'd like to share with you is that the big picture of why global collaboration is so important. But the best benefit is for our students to have exposure and experiences to build that background knowledge of really understanding our world, the cultural diversity of the bonus that has to offer, but also how safely kids can connect so quickly with other kiddos to appreciate, to understand, and also to apply their understanding through empathy-based learning projects with other students all around the globe. I really like the opportunity that when I co-teach with teachers or even in my own classroom, I was a fourth, fifth grade looping teacher and a tech coordinator in a school in Wisconsin originally, way back in the day. And I just loved it because it was such a beautiful blend of all of the different types of subject areas that my children in my classroom were experiencing. And it made it so much more meaningful that when we can blend literacy and social studies and science and math, it just made so much more meaningful connections to our students because that's how our world works too. The other thing that I really like, I call it, that's my hook or my anticipatory set for the students and teachers I work with, because it's active engagement. We all are human. We all are social. We're so excited to learn from one another. And because of that, it's a natural interest and for kids to be more curious in the classroom. It really does enhance our experience to appreciate the differences of others, learn new information about somebody else's prior experiences, also of how we can work together more collaboratively, knowing that we have many different personality traits in the way that we work, that we can empathize and understand, that if somebody, as some of my other sessions, I will say that if you're a yellow hat thinker, that you're extremely positive and optimistic and everything is bright and sunshiny. But then if I'm a blue hat thinker, I really much of a planner. I have a lot of strategy and I need to have kind of a course of action. I will have some flexible structure, but I need a lot of structure. So when you put a blue and a yellow hat thinker together, great things can actually happen, but we need to understand how people learn. I also love this too because it really supports service learning projects. It's that immediacy, fit, and hook, especially for our Generation Z and our Generation Alpha students, because these students want to improve their world. They want to be a solutionist. They want to have more opportunities to contribute to a social cause, to afford the opportunity to improve their health, the way they work, be prosperous in their future careers, but at the same time too, they want to bring everybody on board. And that means their friends within that Gen Z and Gen Alpha generation. I have a supportive link here for you today, and I just think it's imperative. Greta Thunberg, what I really like about this is what a wonderful global activist of having our Generation Z students to have a voice and a choice in their learning, and how we contribute to celebrate and respect our globe, and the importance of green sustainability, and the importance of what global climate change is, and how we contribute to it as a positive aspect, but also as a negative aspect. But these are our students that we're talking about. Our Generation Z are our students from about 4th grade up into high school, and that have just now entered the workforce. And also our Alpha students are our littles that are in from 3rd, 2nd, 1st kindergarten and toddlers and still being bored. So these are kids that are really going to be contributing to a greater world of change, so they never have to go through this global pandemic, I should say, again. So others that are here, I want to give you some quick wins right away. So I hope today I've got a multitude of resources, and I don't want to over-resource you, but I want to make sure that you have enough to fill your digital toolbox with lots of resources. So today, this is one of my quick wins that I go to right away. This is called DIY.org. And I love the skills area in DIY.org because it affords the students to be prepared to look at what future careers are out there that are just entering the workforce for 2020, yet to also afford them what are potential job careers moving already to 2030. And a cartographer, which is absolutely amazing, is that basically you're mapping your entire world. You're understanding the way our world works. You're understanding how you as a learner contribute to that world, but also how to navigate and understand where to go from, and how previous populations and generations of learners have contributed to how our world and our climate has changed. But mapping skills are an essential skill. And even though at times we use our phones, a lot of us, right, will use maybe the Waze app or another type of mapping app. We use that when we travel as a GPS technology unit. Yet at the same time, there's going to be times too that we don't have that type of technology. So how do we understand our world without a map, and how do we navigate to be more of a self-focused learner to help us contribute to understanding where locations are, how different groups of people interact with one another versus one country to one country or per continent, that we're doing some different ways. So I absolutely love it, because digital mapping, and such as this career as a cartographer, is that it helps students understand the importance of math, science, social studies, and literacy. It's a beautiful blend. So kids see their world as a bigger place that they can contribute to based on their passion-driven interest. Now, some other things where to get started. A lot of teachers will say, well, Naomi, I'm interested to get started. Yet what I always say is, let's look at the purpose and the why, and how can you be involved in a project first before you design and create your own. So I always start, as I mentioned, what's your purpose and what's your why? To be involved in a global collaboration project because it looks neat and cool, well, that could be one thing. Yet it's a double bonus when it really fits into your curriculum, supports your differentiated instruction in your classroom or your online learners, but also if it's building in that empathy-based, compassion-based understanding of cultural diversity, respecting the differences of others, and celebrating the differences of others. And that should be our why. So here is an essential tip I want to share with you in this resource. Okay, Ella Ben-Yor is the designer and creator of this amazing tool. She is actually an alum from MIT. She is a brilliant and creative mind, and I just absolutely love her. I follow her on Twitter. She's just great. What I love about Ella Ben is that she's created this Innovators Compass, and it helps kids and teachers really with a design thinking strategy of how we can get more people involved to be part of a global collaboration project, but also solve for a problem that we're stuck on. So she does a lot of activities that are called How to Get Unstuck. And I love that because it gets kids really kind of in the muddy waters of thinking and solving problems. And kids are really truly collaborators that way. So her process that you can see is that we first and foremost start with empathy. The empathy focused on the people. Who's involved? Is this going to be a small project? Is it going to be that I can connect with a nearby community within my local town? Does it mean I can stay in the United States and connect with another group in the US? Or does it mean that I get a true adventure and I get to go leaps and bounds to connect with another country or several different schools in a particular continent? But I love it because the drive then from when you identify the people and the purpose and the empathy is that we need to identify that problem of what's happening and why. Why isn't something working? What's that problem? And then it continues to go on as what matters most. If we contribute to change, why does it matter? How is it going to impact our earth? How's it going to impact us as individuals? How's it going to impact of how we communicate with all of our diverse teams? And then number 4 says the ideas. What ways are there? How could we ideate and brainstorm and come up with phenomenal ideas to help solve for this problem that's creating us a struggle or a challenge? And then number 5, she has like experiments. What's a step to try? So you could do those prototyping steps, designing steps, and then try that implementation strategy. We have teachers use this when they're trying to improve their instructional approaches. And when they're saying, geez, just the strategy when I'm using these types of bell ringer activities just aren't getting the kids excited enough. So if you can use this step-by-step plan, it's going to help you see where a part of the process where you get stuck, that something needs to be changed. So that's what's absolutely amazing with this. I have some of the resources here that I've shared. I have her website. I have the Compass toolkit. There's all kinds of tools of how you can use this as a small that are called design thinking strategies, but there's also a pocket compass. These pocket compasses is like a trifold of paper to use the icon and then to strategize to write quick notes of how you come confronted with something out in your community, in your home, but it gets kids to think differently of how they approach a problem. It also models great perseverance and then notes and showcases and celebrates how they can be a solutionist of change. So dig into those. You're going to absolutely love those quick wins as strategies. Now, I have another collaboration link here that I will make sure that I populate into after the fact, but I have it. It's linked here as a Microsoft Office document. And this is a design challenge that I also afford our teachers that I have worked with. And this is just a screenshot that I have here of it. So it's not the actual document until you get down and below. So the document that I have here gets individuals thinking differently about when they're designing a global collaboration project, what's their why, what's their cause? And it's best about how can you make a global collaboration so wow worthy? What is the change? How's it going to impact the students that you're working with? And how can they carry out with further action steps to go beyond being active in the project, but how can they contribute to a greater world of change? So it's just design thinking strategies, and it has more opportunities for reflections for your students. This is another type of activity that I introduced. This is called dot storming. And dotstorming.com is an online site in which that you can pose an essential question or pose a problem that is a learning scenario. And then from there, your contributors come into this portal and they can quickly and easily share their thinking. And when they share their thinking, then they also can vote. So if someone makes a comment in here, what happens then is they can add their comment and then you can upvote it or you can downvote it saying, I really like that idea, or something that isn't quite right yet. I think we need more help with this. You can also include attachments of images to tell that story. I, as an educator using this, can simply add an idea. I can invite participants, and then I can add images. So it's a great way as a global collaboration strategy board. It works similar, you could say, to Padlet, but it's just different, just a little different. So I wanted to introduce this if you haven't seen this. The dot storming boards have been around for, over probably 7 years. So if you haven't seen this, this is something to add to your digital toolbox that's just a little different to get kids more in tune with reflecting, adding their thoughts, and then justifying their reasoning and making a claim. A few other things that I'd like to get started with today also of where you can participate to jumpstart. So before you even start to design a project. These projects include some that are from teachers from all over the globe. And I want to make sure I give many shout outs to them throughout our day because they're doing great things with these. This particular project is one that I personally have set up and I did this past year, and it's still open all the time that you can contribute to it. It's called the 3Doodler Global Engineering Design Challenge. It says, yes, this is what a dream team looks like. I created this project out of the need, out of working with Wisconsin schools this past year, that they had a large focus on STEM, but especially engineering. And what does it look like when a student wears the hat of an engineer in the elementary classroom, in the middle school classroom, and then the high school classroom? And it looks really different because of the opportunities that we can afford our students. So this project was born out of that need. And so that's how it came to be. So this is linked actually into one of I have an online Google site for this particular one. And it has learning modules. You can go step by step, take whatever you want, do bits of it, do the whole project. But the final project is getting a variety of groups of students together, and that you could share with teams of students globally, yet they design a self-driving electric car using 3D. So you may think, oh my gosh, how are we ever going to get there? Well, we do lots of different things. We use the design thinking engineering process. We work with different types of materials and supplies. So there's challenges along the way that you use recycled goods and all kinds of things to work with. Yet the very end, that if students have access to 3Doodler pens, they're actually going to construct a model of creating the frame that can be green friendly. And then you can also include robotics, such as if you're using Legos as EV3s, if you're using maybe a Dash or a Q robot from Make Wonder, or it could also be that you could use Ozobots or other meter bots or other things like that too. So there's lots that are out there, but helping kids think differently that in our world to be, challenging them with to create cars that are self-driving, right? Make it green friendly for our climate, but it also includes what does the outside of that structure look like? So the kids design it with a 3D pen, and then you can infuse it using your robotics as well. So now we're merging lots of different types of STEM tools together to create a best possible project. Now, another one, if you haven't participated in this is a phenomenal project right away, super easy, that all you have to do is sign up, and it's called Global Maker Day. They are currently accepting other teachers as well with your students to teach others during this day on October 20th, your best maker project. They're quick wins. So you as a teacher could present, it could be a team of your students can present, and you're presenting to classrooms of students is what you're doing with teachers there as well. I love it because you have the whole gamut. You've got teachers, you've got administrators, you've got parents, you've got community members. But the whole purpose is to create and make that you identify a project that you're passionate about, you introduce your why, and then you model how to create that maker project through video portals. So you'll be using whether Zoom or Microsoft Teams for this. So again, 100% free. It's a quick win, and it's a great way to be involved to experience what a global collaboration project can look like for each of you. You might even be motivated because they've got a great structure of how they have it set up, that this could be a starting point of how you could replicate something like this to support your next project. Okay, let's go to the next one. Let's ask in the back channel chat, have any of you participated in a cardboard challenge or offered any type of design thinking challenges with cardboard for your students or teachers or community members maybe that you're working with? I'll just take a pause moment. I'd like to see if you've done any of that yet. Okay, some responses are coming in. Some of you are saying, no, not quite yet. Okay. Be interesting if you have. If you have, give us some ideas too. Oh, almost, but was saving cardboard and had all the tools. Well, you know what, Brad? Thanks for sharing that. You know what's interesting, especially because we're in this pandemic. This is a really great way to get kids involved to wear their engineering caps and also their entrepreneur hats, all kinds of different hats they didn't know they really had, right? So because of this, most kids have access to some type of recycled materials at home. Even if it's not cardboard, it could be something else. But these challenges are when you go to the site at cardboardchallenge.com, you can see the past experiences that these kids have done. It is incredible. If you haven't seen, it's called Kane's Arcade. Kane's Arcade is a little boy that designed just out of cardboard at his dad's car shop that he had to create this arcade game. And this game came to be, and he took it right out on the side of the sidewalk next to his dad's car shop. And he actually had more kids come to it, that they interactive with creative play and then imaginary play and curiosity, and made his arcade game 10 times better than you thought could have ever imagined. He did this all out of cardboard and, markers and creating and making. It was amazing. So because of that type of learning, it gets kids thinking differently of how they design, because a lot of times we as adults tell our kids, well, here's a cardboard box, but what do you want to do with the box? Kids will say, it's not a box. I can create this out of it. I can do this. And sometimes we as adults always put words in kids' mouths because we assume that that box is a box when it really isn't a box because they're creating it something else. So there's a whole book about that too. It's called It's Not a Box. And it's where our kids are so curious and so imaginative. We've got to help find many ways, even through middle school and high school, to keep that imagination flowing and to respect and appreciate the art of play, because art is the highest form of research. It truly is. So if you can afford your students more opportunities now, even during the pandemic, do a cardboard challenge of the week. Add that to your essential list as a teaching strategy. Your kids will love you for it, yet you're including math, science, literacy, and even components of social studies that if you can ground it in a really good, rich book as well too. Now, I did a screenshot here for you. That day of play was on October 5th of 2019. That new date will be noted soon in October. It wasn't on the site yet when I captured this for you, but it's a great event. You can participate before, during, or after. I think you'll absolutely love it. Now, another one that always comes up, and I want to give a shout out to great friend Jen Wagner. She's from California. Jen became very ill this last year with cancer. She has been just this amazing super trooper, and she's doing better now. And she's going to be hosting another project, going to be noted probably in the next month. She's going to launch it. So she said, yes, Naomi, go ahead, share and screenshot the site of what we have so far so they can see what we've done in the past, and also let them know that more is coming. Jen is so creative, and these projects normally are targeted for kindergarten, meaning through 8th grade. She did this great project on the holiday card project, and in which that teachers can sign up and students are part of that project, and they share their story of how they celebrate holidays around the world. You then, as a teacher, are on this major list, and that list then that you can exchange ideas with another teacher from that list, or everybody on the list can create a card from your class to actually physical snail mail to that city, country where they're located, or you can digitize it and send it electronically. Then students are receiving cards, your class is receiving cards from all over the world. You are learning new language. You're learning all about the cultural diversity of how we celebrate a holiday, why it's so special, how it came to be, what types of food are celebrated on these holidays, where is the element and appreciation of family. I just absolutely love it. And we need more of this right now. We need more of this kindness, respect, and a way to celebrate diversity, because that's the best gift in which that we can all overcome of some of this hate and other things that we're going through in our country right now. So again, Jen's site is at it's jenniferlwagner.weebly.com, and new topics will be coming out, but her main page was called Projects by Jen. So I have both of them in there for you. But it's a quick win. She's got all kinds. I participated in her projects way back in, it's like 1995, I think is my first one that I participated in with my 4th and 5th grade students. We did a quilt project that we actually sewed portions of quilts to represent our school and how the children learn when I was a Wisconsin school teacher. And then we also participated in this project. She's got the Great Oreo Cookie Project. We brought in a container of cookies that you purchase from the store that are called Oreos. And Oreos is a name of a type of a brand of cookies, if you're not aware, because I don't want to assume that everybody knows that. And those cookies then, we looked at the scale of the weight on the outside of the cookies. Then the kids actually weighed it, and some of the packages were different than what they noted on the outside of the package, which is very interesting. So they got to become very conscientious consumers. We took the cookies out. We did a cookie stack. How tall could we stack before they fell down? The kids also weighed them again, and then took the white fluff filling out of that. We weighed for that, and also the density of that. And then also the kids created with the fluff, they created little creatures out of it. It was just all hands on. They loved it. Our fourth grade students collected all the data, and then the data was shared on Jen's site that she had data results from all and pictures. The kids loved it. It was a quick win. Okay, I've got some more for you at this time. This is called Supportive Geography Resources and Virtual Connections to actually appreciate the global and cultural diversity of all of our different continents. Some of these, if you haven't seen, or if you have, please let me know if you have so that we can share together today online how you've used them. This is called Single Voices and Global Choices. So what I love about this particular site is that it really is helping students have student agency and activism to be part of their world. There are different types of global projects on this particular page that's going to afford you the opportunity that kids can participate in a group at their particular grade level band. So if you're in elementary, if you're in middle school, if you're in high school, you find the right particular project. But it really empowers students to use social activism for good, just like Greta Thunberg that I mentioned earlier. But it's helping kids have an idea that they have that they want to improve the world, they want to improve communication or collaboration, and how to have that idea come to life. So this is a really great supportive site, especially for that. It also is supported by our United Nations sustainable goals as well too. Bringing more history to life, a lot of times our students want to understand why our world the way it is. Why do our people act and say things the way they do? You know, especially right now in our world, sometimes I'm just in awe of what people say. And I'm thinking, well, why is that coming, or where is that coming from? And why are people seeming so short-sighted sometimes, I'll say it kindly. I could say other things, but I'll say it kindly, that people are not understanding and being respectful towards other diverse populations. Why is that? Well, what I love about this is from the National Museum of Natural History. And not only does this also include our big, beautiful earth of natural things, it also gives the history and the story of the why things have formulated from past history, cultures, and generations. And that's why I absolutely love it. So you can actually see exhibits that have been restored, or actually, you could say digital artifacts that are there from long ago, and how people interacted with our earth, and why things are here today still, and why things are now totally gone, and why that is. So there's all the research that's here. I love it, the education, the events, but also it really emphasizes the impact that we as a culture have on our earth, and how we have to respect our earth more, and how our groups have to make a change, and we have to make a change now in order to preserve our history, but the history of our earth, so that we can move forward and live in a productive and global society. Now, I have another one here. I've got the next three, I believe. These are called virtual field trips, and they're curated collections. There are so many virtual field trips out there that it's like, oh my gosh, I could go out to the internet and I'm going to get sucked down that rabbit hole. And I'm not going to be able to know where to go. These are teachers that have put some great collections together. And I can't thank these teachers enough. And I want to make sure to give credit where credit is due. So I made sure I captured their name that are on these Padlets, because then it can be linked out that you can connect with these teachers too. This particular one also starts, and there's more to it, but I love it because there's museum field trips, there's aquariums and zoos, because a lot of our aquariums and zoos are closed right now due to the pandemic. Some are starting to reopen, but slowly. We have live cameras, so you could have that part of your teacher week, having a live camera virtual field trip, and then really talking about habitat with your students and where these animals are found in our big, beautiful world. There's also science labs as virtual field trips, because right now it's kind of hard to do some of our science experiments and things like that. This will afford your students to actually have some still experiences viewing, seeing, and hearing the story of the why. So there's many more on here, but I just did a snapshot for you today. Now our next one, if you haven't seen this is called Projects Explorer. Projects Explorer is a great way to look at different varieties of different places and people in time. It's broken down into elementary, middle school, high school, and then it says teachery stuff. So there's some guides and resources, and even supports pre-service teachers right now too. I love it because there's short video clips, digital artifacts, quick win lessons, and some great things that's all about telling the story of our culture, respecting of diversity, but understanding time and place at where people are at and how they live and how they make the best of a situation, what they have, and the resources that they have. So just quick wins right away. Another one, if you haven't seen, this is called ePals. And ePals is one of my projects that I participated in many years ago. I would say from 1995 to about the year 2003. I absolutely love this, and it keeps getting better every year. ePals will afford you the opportunity that it has many different ways that you can experience virtual field trips, global collaboration projects, but also connecting with a group of students in a different country, city, town, you name it. So let's say that I am a foreign language teacher and I'm teaching Spanish and I'm in the United States. Yet I really want to connect with another teacher that may be in, let's say, Costa Rica, and that's their primary language. And so I want my students to understand and learn from those students so that they can exchange and honor and respect that language, and they can talk in that language. So I can find a teacher here in Costa Rica that could be in my same grade level. And then from there, I can actually communicate and connect with that teacher. And we could have weekly exchanges or monthly exchanges, or have we could use a Flipgrid to exchange information, that I could pose a prompt or have my students ask a question in that language, and then that student group can respond so that we can learn from each other. Or we could do a Skype call, but there's many different ways that you can do this. I love this. And Brad, thank you so much for sharing. He says, he says, the Peace Corps in Ukraine, it was an awesome experience. Yes. So you can really understand, Brad, because if you were there and lived and breathed that, you have that passion for that, right? Your passion as a teacher needs to shine through in affording your students these same experiences, because we need to allow students to be part of something that's greater than them, and that they have to realize that there are people, places, and things all over the world that are very similar, but very different. And the more opportunities that we can afford them the opportunity to experience something that's different, that's going to build a better understanding of empathy, connections with understanding and listening more to understand as well. Yes, this is what we should be doing. This should be part of everything we do in our curriculum. And even though now some of us are going back fully online with our learning because of the pandemic, these are the empathy, compassion-based types of teaching experiences that I say now that we should be front-loading. We should be front-loading, investing in relationships with our kids, especially front-loading, basing on how to understand and listen to understand, how to respect the differences of others, and let's do that through these types of global projects, because that will build and grow an empathy-based and compassion-based community of learners with our students. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Brad also says it was so easy to get students to write. Many, do not like writing, right? But not to their pen pals. See, that's the quick win. That is exactly the quick win that I'm talking about. Brad, thank you. Thank you for adding those really, really important areas today of thought. Thank you. Now, here's another one that if you haven't seen, I was introduced to this about 2 years ago from Jen Williams. She's another great teacher friend on the East Coast. But Empatical is a beautiful, beautiful site that you can quickly get quick wins that you can interact with a global collaboration project, yet you can create global collaboration projects on this site. And students basically have short exercises that they can complete and exchange with a partner classroom. And these quick wins can be quickly 15 minutes or less. And this is a portal too that you can interact in 20 to 40 minutes or less with the classroom. So this is kind of like ePals, but different. Everything's set up that it helps kids with focusing on writing, curating digital assets to share about your unit of study. And then it's the quick interaction to find the right classroom that's based on your theme that you're studying that month. And then kids also reflect and exchange their ideas. That's called a reflection circle as a teaching strategy. And it really helps students develop deeper ideas, build community, and encourage honest dialogue with different diverse cultures. I love this site. This would be even one that I would start with as well too. Now let's look at a few other things. This is called global and virtual field trips. Global and virtual field trips, there's many that are out there, as we know. I, as a teacher, want a quick win right away, and I want something that I know that is validated, it's credible, and knowing that it's of highest quality, so the experience is positive for my students and teachers or administrators that I'm working with. That's my go-to is Skype in the classroom for sure. This is the win-win. I did a snapshot here for you that you can see all of the different types of trips that are upcoming, yet at the same time, this is giving you ideas and examples of what you can do to build your own virtual field trip. I love that you can tap into this. You can watch archive field trips that are here too, but most of these, again, are building a stronger community of empathy-based and compassion-filled students because it's modeling those approaches. It also has the beautiful embedded our United Nations Sustainable Goals, a part of that project. It also talks about the importance of, like when we have Jane Goodall, all about our animals, our habitats, and our climate of today. But I love the mystery Skype classrooms too. The kids get so excited because they have to solve a problem, which they get clues in which that they have to see where that person is at time and place, and it's discovering through inquiry. Plus, there's also a big portal for just guest speakers. And almost all of these are free. There's just a few that are in there that could be a charge based on if you need supplies or something that you need to front end first before you have that global collaboration Skype call. Here's also, if you haven't seen this, I use this with a lot of my students that I co-teach with other classrooms. This is called Skype A Scientist, and how science is all around us. It impacts everything that we do. So why not afford the opportunity to bring a scientist in and learn from them, and even learn how they are approaching up how they solve a problem, what they do when they get stuck, but what their final invention is, basically as an engineer invention to improve our world, whether it's medicine or related to healthcare, whether it's something in education, whether it's in our other types of industry of the tech field, you name it. How about our farming community? How we make food safer and things like that. So I screenshotted a clip right here. And these are some that are taking place actually coming up in September. And I love the theme for September when you see it. There's leeches, ants, and termites. There's environmental engineering, the importance of pollinators, plants and world hunger, plants and a healthy planet. How about lizards? Kids like lizards. I'm here in Arizona, and I do have a little kitty cat. And our kitty cat, we don't necessarily have mice in our area where I'm at. I'm sure they're there, but we haven't had any problem with that. But we have little lizards, little geckos, and little, they're called Arizona spiny lizards. She likes to go out and catch them, and then she brings them back to us on the patio. but she plays with them. She doesn't kill them. It's just like a toy or to play with. It's kind of funny. But all the different types of lizards and how they have acclimated to the climate that we live in, because some days it's 112 and it's a dry heat, but it's a hot heat. But then some days we get down to 85 and then down to 70 during kind of our winter time. So how do they live and how do they acclimate and how do they accommodate to the type of environment and our heat that we have? So it's so interesting. And he talks about that, about lizards, of how they assimilate to the environment that they're in to survive. So I just find it fascinating. Some other things I'd like to know, have any of you been using Flipgrid? If you could let me know in the back channel chat, any Flipgrid users? A little bit, okay. Tell me a little bit more. Dr. Dev, even, and Brad, I'd like to know how and the why. How are you using that? Any suggestions, or what's gotten some of your students or you as a teacher involved in a Flipgrid? Oh, good, Brad. I love it that you're trying it out. Absolutely. And Dr. Seth, teachers have used it to leave video reflections after PD. Yes, that's the hook I wanted. So Dr. Dev, kudos to you. Thanks for sharing another idea. Why that is a lot of times in order for us as teachers to get comfortable with it, what I've done first is I've used it when I first used it starting many, many years ago before Microsoft acquired Flipgrid, is I would use it with exchanges with my own son and daughter-in-law that they live in Wisconsin and I live out here on the West Coast. And so from that, we would use it as with family members, and we'd pose an essential question or want to learn more about others about what they were doing. And of course, we're all on different time zone schedules. So when they got a time that they could respond, they would respond back to me and then I could watch it at my time. So it meets their schedule and meets my schedule. Then I thought, gosh, this is really cool. I could use this with students, meaning that as this is part of a presentation, that I could use it as a flip teaching segment, but then also I could ask a question and then students could respond when they felt comfortable in their time frame, or that was part of their after school hours or their homework assignment. But what a better way to bring in a Flipgrid as a virtual field trip. You could bring in a presenter in that they can watch live Flipgrids, but also watch it after the fact and still have time to process their ideas and then reflect on their learning. It works out really, really good. And also, Dr. Deb, yes, your EL practices for speaking and listening. Oh, that is so essential, isn't it? It is. It's a great way to respond. Students can have the opportunity to respond that will show their whole video if they want, or if that day that they don't want to show their face, you can get an emoji, like a big smiley face on top that fits on top of your face, so the kids can still hear the voice and then share their responses as well, and to protect privacy. We have some teachers that are using Flipgrids right in the same buildings, meaning that I have fourth grade, I've got 3 sections of fourth grade, but they want to learn together. So the teacher team is a transformative trio, and they come up with some really good questions that they ask, but also some flip teaching practices. So they teach together. So if I've got 30 kids in this classroom, I've got 32 over here, and I got 28. All of a sudden, my 90 plus kids can learn together. And based on the same content that we're teaching, it actually streamlines how we're approaching that to build a larger community of our third or fourth grade students at one time. So our teachers are working smarter on this one, collaborating more, but getting all of their students where they normally maybe wouldn't get to interact with all 90 kids at one time. Now they have a stronger community class structure too. So it's worked out well. A few other things, if you haven't tapped into, but Carmen Sandiego is back, built in really as a wonderful creative presence in Google Earth. So Google Earth lit trips are a great way to get kids involved, to ground it in a good story, but also to experience a story of where the character is from or where the scene is taking place. So if you haven't seen this, Carmen Sandiego is a great way to get kids as a graphic novel approach to help be a tour creator, but also to solve a mystery or a problem. It's just a lot of fun. I have embedded here some quick links too of what you can do, of how to grow that type of learning. I've got a trading card game, a travel IQ, and then some virtual simulations that are built in. Some other things that if you feel comfortable to participate, and then you decide, like even using a different place that if you want to share, let's say like even Jen Wagner's got hers that are set up that you can participate in. If you want to create your own, some of you may say, well, I'm going to be part of the Flipgrid process and I'm going to create my own virtual field trip. Well, if you want to share it with more, Digital Promise actually has a portal that you can share your virtual field trips to get it out to wonderful communities of learners. And basically your project would be also spotlighted so others could participate in it. And it's a great way to share and showcase what you're doing in your part of the country. So basically you can sign up through the Digital Promise. It's a micro credential that would give you kind of a kudos, but you're sharing it with others to share your project that's gone really, really well. So I love it because it's also grounded in those global competencies about action and engagement for our United Nations global standards also that we have. So that's free to participate and then to get your project out there. So it's a quick portal to get that online. Now, if you're looking for more, like I said, there's so much more that's out there. So because of that, I've also added a few other links. There's some great ways to explore our world through 360 cities. It's a panoramic view of different places in the world. Some of our teachers right now love to take panoramic photos. You can use those for some of our cell phones right now, or you can get like a Ryko camera. It's just a little camera that's about this big. It's just by the push of a button. It takes a 360 view of your room or where you're at. You can take that digitized photo and upload it to 360s. And then with that, 360s photos and pictures and videos are also built right into Nearpod as well too. So Nearpod is another tool that you can streamline presentations with your teachers and your students. But that 360 photo will allow students to now experience time and place that they never would with just maybe a screenshot. And I love it because 360 photos, once the photo's up there, they can spin it, they can interact with it, they can zoom in and take a closer look. 360 Cities also has, like in our area, we've got the beautiful Grand Canyon. If students have never traveled to the beautiful Grand Canyon, how do they know what it looks like? What's the depth of that? How is it formed? And how did the glaciers impact that area when it came through, centuries ago? So it allows students to really interact with that visual literacy component. It is just absolutely just stunning. I have other things here, global lit trips, as I mentioned just briefly before. How about the Iditarod? Have any of you experienced the Iditarod? Have any of you gone to Alaska to be part of the Iditarod? Well, I've got a principal friend that lives there, and he tells me stories about what takes place all the time in different parts of our globe where the Iditarod takes place. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I've never physically face-to-face experienced it, but now I can experience it through a virtual field trip. So once again, these are all just kind of some great takeaways to experience different types of learning. The last one too, it says the first Thanksgiving field trip. I find that amazing. Scholastic's done a good job to look at history where we were, how things came to be, how we celebrate Thanksgiving, and even in our world in 2020, how we now celebrate Thanksgiving. And it's very interesting how our traditions, our culture, our celebrations of learning have really transformed to be over the years of, those stories that come through our generations, but how now we celebrate it and the why. Okay, so I hope that you can get started today with one thing to try a global learning experience with your students. And please feel free at any given time. I'm going to pause probably our presentation so that if you'd like to have a deeper conversation of where you'd like to get started, we can brainstorm some ideas, or if you have further questions, would love to share that with you. But what I have here for you, this is an easy way to continue the conversation. You can email me, you can direct message me on Twitter, you can go to my website. I've got all kinds of good tools. And see, yep, there it is, Dr. Deb. There's my hair down again, but this time, like I said, I've got it up in my braid. And my motto is, together we are better. There's no way we can know it all, but sharing a little bit of that information here and there can inspire you with one idea to make an ordinary idea extraordinary. So thanks so much, teacher friends. It's been a great appreciation to be here again with you and to learn with you with the ideas that you shared with me today. So thanks so very much. Okay, I'm going to stop presenting that we can come back, that if you have any further questions that we can connect and meet. Oh, and Sandra, thank you. I see Sandra joined us after the fact. It's good to see you. If any of you have questions or insights, you can turn on your microphone. If you'd like any more ideas, we'd be glad to help. If not, enjoy the rest of your Saturday, everyone. Okay, and I'll just pause that if you have a question, would love to take any conversations if you'd like to interact with. Okay. Okay, and Sandra, you joined us after the fact, so I want to make sure that you do have the slide deck today. So I'm going to make sure I'm going to upload. I do have another PDF from my computer today, so I can upload it from there that you can have. And I'm going to upload a copy of it that I just shared to make sure that you have it. And Julie T, and then all the, see, I have UC, yes, you're on as well. So I'm going to make sure that you get that as well if you joined us after the fact. There you go. Okay, I just want to make sure that everybody got a copy of it. Okay, any other questions, teacher friends, before we log off for the day? Okay, you're welcome, Sandra. Okay. Well, thanks everyone. It's been a pleasure working with all of you again today in this virtual learning. Please remember to come back to q.org/Microsoft, where you can actually tap into all of the free online webinars that will be afforded you all through the month of August still. And we're hoping to offer up that opportunity continuing forward in September. So more great things are coming from Microsoft. Thanks everyone for your time and energy to learn on a weekend. Have a great one.